So, welcome back to season 2 of Sleepless in Dubai. My name's Julie Mallon. I'm a sleep consultant, a corporate speaker, and most importantly, a mother of 3 daughters. So I would like to hand you over now to Laura.
Yes, my name is Laura Buckwell. I'm an international event MC and broadcast journalist, as well as a mother of 2. And we are absolutely delighted to be joined by Saif Al Yasi, our guest here on Sleepless in Dubai. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I like the introduction that you introduced yourself. I can say that I'm Saif Al Yasi, a father of 4. So
you've one-upped us there. So actually, we've given you a very brief introduction there. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and how your career within health and fitness started as well.
I've always been interested in fitness in general. So my father and my mom put me in the UK in karate. That's how it started, like small classes. So I've always had that passion to go as a hobby. And I kept this hobby going on until recently, like probably 20 years ago, was continuing. But then when I moved to Dubai in 2005, I kept on going for a couple of years. And after that, I was like, living Dubai's life, easy life, of going, eating junk food, staying up late, not sleeping as I'm supposed to be sleeping. So I noticed that I had gained a little bit of weight. So up to this moment, it was all about hobby. So I stopped going to fitness, any kind of activities. I didn't pay attention to my food. I didn't pay attention to my sleep, as I said. Stress was part of the things that happened to me as well. But it took me 3 years of this kind of lifestyle till I noticed that there's something wrong. And this was happening inside the bathroom. I looked at myself, standing on a scale, looking at 3 digits for the very first time in kgs, we're talking.
Yeah.
For the very first time in my life. I was always a 2-digit person with low numbers. This shocked me. I looked up in the mirror and I noticed someone that I don't recognize, someone that has been totally drifted away from who he's supposed to be. I always hated a man with a belly, including myself. I was like, no, this man has a belly though. This is something that's, I shouldn't be.
This is really fascinating because we assume, we assume that these conversations are really very much women-driven. And yet, it's really refreshing, actually, your honesty.
Yeah.
So, you were saying that, it was that one morning, but I'm quite certain that all your previous experiences led you to be able to have such clarity around that event.
The previous experiences in the life, like it would
just, for example, your experience as a child, your experience within your family unit. So can you explore that a little bit?
Yeah, I would say that my father is an active person. He's a general surgeon, so he is active pretty much within what he does. He's always on the call. He's always not home, but he runs from the hospital back home to eat and then back again to the hospital or to his private clinic as well. So he has been an active person, and I've seen him always, when we used to go together as a family, and he walks, he's always the fastest walker amongst us.
My dad's exactly the same. That's really funny.
So this is something that I grew up with. I didn't see him practice any sports because of his job. I mean, his job is already stressful as a sports, but he's always like, he doesn't take the lift, he takes the stairs to go up, and he does it till today. So that's, for me, is like a pretty active person, and I never seen him gain weight. So for me, gaining weight was from my other side, which I didn't like, and I wanted to help her, and I'm still suffering myself trying to help her as well. This is something that I work on every single day. Every time I talk to her, I try to guide her to the right path. So yeah, this probably had affected me, but I didn't pay attention to myself until that morning where I realized that, no, there's something wrong. And I knew what to do, but with just normal knowledge. But this was the journey from 2009 until today. I kept on taking this path of fitness, studying, learning. I took courses. I studied in university as well, and kept on continuously learning what's out there. I'm still reading, I'm still listening to podcasts, I'm still meeting and interviewing people on my own podcast to learn from them. These are free courses for me as well.
So what do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to weight gain, fitness? What gives you the sort of perfect ratio of sort of health and disease? What's the biggest misconception? I mean, obviously, Saad, you were at that point, and you said you were here in Dubai. So, and everyone says, you know, when you come here, you get the Dubai stone, and you're exploring everything, you want to try everything, and yeah, you become a bit lazy, I suppose. So what is the biggest misconception when it comes to getting into, well, fitness in general, basically, and the food relationship?
To be honest with you, there are so many misconceptions, so many of them. But I would say it's very, very easy if you pay attention to yourself and how we are supposed to be eating, how we are supposed to be living. We're supposed to be sleeping early, for sure. Everyone grew up knowing this. I mean, unless you're living in a place that you're not educated in this way. But I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know that sleep affects your body. Because if we start with sleep, food, we all know that real food can give you the right energy and the right nutrients that your body needs. And what we're eating outside is just pleasure for free with zero nutrients. This is something, and we were built to move. We were built to do some activities. So these three aspects are very, very important. Most of the people know, but because of life, because of, for example, if we're living in Dubai or anywhere like Dubai, an active city with easy fast food, we forget ourselves. We forget what we are supposed to do to our body. We enjoy the pleasure of being with someone outside at a certain time, pleasing them, not pleasing ourselves. And when we forget about ourselves, this is where problems happen.
And also, just really quickly, I mean, I lived in London for a while as well, and it's very much street life. In order to get from one end of town to the other, you've got to make a real effort to get there, you know. Whereas here, hop in a taxi, everyone drives, there's no one's walking anywhere. So there's that sort of fitness element here in Dubai. There's a bit of a challenge, I suppose, as well. But going back to the sleep, obviously, because that's why we're here, tell us a little bit more about, you know, the importance, maybe, Julie, of sleep within fitness in your perspective, and then maybe we could go to yours.
But you were saying something really interesting about how we are eating later and we're not getting enough sleep. There's a misconception around light. It's only 140 years ago, that's all, that the light bulb was actually invented with Thomas Edison, 144 maybe, but that's all. So it's very new that we are living in a light environment. All those thousands we've been without. And so, as you say, we wouldn't eat later into the evening because everything's dark and we couldn't actually find the food. So we should actually naturally be finishing eating early. And then the second thing is about how the impact of light throughout our whole 24 hours. And it's wanting to give the best and the most accurate information when it comes to not just sleep, but around food, because we know that light is a very important Zeitgeber, as is food. You know, Zeitgeber being another fancy word for cue, light cue, information. So in terms of, you were saying how you've really studied and gone back to university and want to give the most accurate information. How do you help your clients then on their journey when it comes to light, nutrition, sleep, movement?
Let me just go a little bit back. Recently, I've been invited. I work as a general manager for a medical equipment company, so I attend events like this into ophthalmology, which is the specific production of our equipment. And I had around 3,000 doctors, which I see every single year for the past 20 years in living in Dubai. But this time, I was invited by the Post, who's my client, as a doctor who buys from me equipment, to be a motivational speaker talking about sleep to doctors. So it was showing my other side as a personal trainer, as a coach, to the doctors that I deal with, and they know me as a general manager for this company. So which was very interesting. How are you going to tell doctors that their sleep habits are really bad? Those are doctors that are supposed to be giving us the advice, not the other way around. But it was very interesting that I noticed that people are not aware of the importance of sleep and light in specific. And especially with the new devices right now, the doctors are most of the time on their phone, as everyone is right now. Who doesn't go to sleep with his phone next to this?
Me, I do not.
Thank you very much. That's a good...
I'm guilty sometimes.
No.
We all have this guilt from now and then. I mean, I try to be like you 100%, but sometimes there's something important. Like, for instance, yesterday, I was waiting for the message, for the pass, and stuff like that. So I had to. There are moments. I was in bed.
Yeah.
I was in bed and trying to avoid that. But it happens. But if you really know and you keep your phone away from even the room, not just the bed, close to your hand as well, it will affect how sleep goes with you and how deep is your sleep. People think and assume that the hours of sleep is more important, while I tell them it's not just the hours, it's at the quality of sleep. Absolutely. What happens, because, for instance, coffee. You're not supposed to be having coffee after 4 p.m. because it stays 12 hours in your body. 25% the caffeine that you consume stays 12 hours after.
Gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The same with tea as well, obviously. Yeah.
Certainly some teas have got caffeine, but if you, again, as you say, looking at coffee, it has that 6 to 12 hours lifespan, and some people slowly metabolize it, and some people are fast metabolizers. And so, as you say, if you were to take one at 9 o'clock in the morning, at 9 p.m. you have 25 milligrams left.
Yeah.
But if you then take another one at, say, 11 o'clock, you now have 50 milligrams of caffeine within your system. And so it has a direct correlation on the quality, like you're saying. It's about quality of your sleep, not just duration.
Not just hours.
In previous interviews, you've spoken about a nappuccino.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about it. Have you heard about
A nap.
a nappuccino?
Cappuccino.
Have you heard about this? Yeah.
A small nap in between, you mean?
No. So with the nappuccino, and when we were saying about sometimes we have to have the phone beside our bed, sometimes, and it is quite a nice reminder about life gets in the way. And with all our sleep work, we are very much about not making anyone feel guilty, or because that's going to not motivate people to make these very small changes. And we know a small change can have a big difference. And if we're looking at the the 6 steps of readiness for change, we have to want to implement that in order to make that change. So it's not about making people feel guilty. The same around coffee. The wonderful neuroscientist, Professor Matthew Walker, he did get in a lot of trouble because he was so against coffee. And he's had to backtrack. And actually, I really admire him for saying, okay, perhaps I was a little bit overzealous, and that's not what we want to do. Now, with the nappuccino works in that, say you have a really, really huge event and you want your brain to be as sharp as it can be. The research has shown us that if you have a good cup of coffee, but it has to be fresh coffee, it can't be instant coffee, and you take that just before you take a nap, right before you take a nap, when you wake up from your nap, the caffeine has kicked in and you're good to go.
Okay.
So that's our nappuccino, and it can work. It really can.
So you have to do that though before the caffeine kicks in.
Just before you nap.
So how do you make sure that you are asleep? Like, I don't know whether I'd have too much going through my head at the time to actually fall asleep.
Well, that would be something that you know how to take your nap. It would be something that, like your bedtime routine, your nap routine, because a nap can be very helpful. Now, a nap is not helpful in that if you have to take a nap every day, that's telling you something's wrong with your sleep. But on the other hand, if it's something that's just going to boost as a short-term measure, absolutely. And we know, according to NASA, the perfect nap is 26 minutes. Now, one of the reasons why it's 26 minutes, and I find this really, really fascinating, is that in stage 2 of our sleep, which we will get in that nap, we have these electrical pulses called sleep spindles. And these sleep spindles are really helping with our memory formation. And that happens within stage 2, which happens within a nap. So a nap can be very beneficial, but not if you require it every single day. It's a red flag.
Yeah, Does that cover, and this is a question for you, does that cover the sleep debt that you have?
No,
No.
no, it doesn't. And that's a misconception that we can make up for lost sleep. Unfortunately, we can't. But again, just do the best that you can that following night. You know, like you say, exposure to natural light. Make sure you drink enough fluid because sleep is very dehydrated. So that's what's going to help. Going back to medicine and speaking to the doctors, in the whole of their 5 to 7 years of medicine, 2 hours is allocated to the importance of sleep. And yet there isn't one single domain within our health that sleep isn't such an important, if not the, I do say the only thing that is more important than sleep is breathing. We have to be aware of that. So there's two elements to this question, because from my understanding of your work, which I think should be part of all our work, you're very relationship building around your work and the importance of the relationship with you and your client, but also their relationship within their interpretation of everything around the physical activity, but the mental aspect. That is as important as the physical, and that's my understanding of how you operate with the science within your work. So how does that work?
So we're going to answer that in just a minute. Us after our break.
Havea's mission is to create sustainable, non-toxic sleep solutions that support healthier lives and a healthier planet. And so we've partnered with Nurtured Sleep to create the ultimate organic mattress for little dreamers. Made from certified organic latex, breathable, durable, non-toxic, and no off-gassing. With a soft, washable bamboo cover, it's easy for parents and safe for baby. Ultimately fully organic and available in 3 sizes. Visit havea.ae to learn more.
So welcome back, and I'm so looking forward to the answer of my question.
Yeah. So you said something very interesting, the mindset here. And I have to relate to this one because my journey and what I do right now with my clients and the people I meet as well on a day-to-day basis is related to my own journey as well. So from that moment of me looking in the mirror, remember that moment?
Yeah.
This was the day I decided to change my entire life. And the moment I took this decision to change my entire life, so many things have come and lost change. So for example, I noticed that I'm not eating well, because this was my wake-up call to notice things. I noticed that the food is not in the right place, in the right order, in the right quantity, in the right quality as well. So I had to go and fix that. The other thing was my sleep. My sleep was all over the place. I was aware of all this information, but I just did not see it while I was living. But the moment I woke up in that moment, looking at myself in the mirror, I started realizing things in a different way. So having my own experience and my own journey, and if you look at me when standing in front of the mirror, I was a big, chubby guy, and he's 29 years old, taking that step towards change. So throughout the change of my life, I wasn't really a personal trainer at the moment, but people started to notice my dedication to every single thing. And I learned to say no to so many people around me, even my close people, my wife, my family, my friends, my co-workers at work. When they offered me something, let's go and do something like that, let's stay up late, I'm like, no. I learned to prioritize myself over the entertainment which is outside, which was offensive for them. But at the end of the day, after 10, 15 years right now, those same people who looked at me like while saying no, and like, why is he offending us, saying no, not coming and joining us? Why is he isolating himself? Why is he prioritizing himself? Those are the same people who are coming to me today asking me how. So I was an example and I was a leader because I am a coach today. I have to be an leader and I have to prioritize how I look, how I feel, how I think, how I practice my day-to-day life in order to be an example for the people I lead. So those people, my clients, they have to look up to me. They ask me, what are you doing? Or they follow me and they see what I'm doing. And I deliberately post what I'm doing in order for that to watch. I don't push you to go and change because you can't change a person who doesn't want to change. But if you're out there saying that I am doing every single day, And you know, when somebody is looking at, when somebody is doing something, you're going to be like, yeah, he's doing it for a couple of days and then he's going to quit. But when he insists on doing it every single day for years and years, you're going to be inspired. Like, Enstar doesn't give up. There's nothing that this guy is trying to, there's no one going to stop this guy. So, in both sleep, in both waking up early as well, the time that you have your coffee, for example, the hydration and the water, saying no to certain food out there, and plus going and working out. Working out is good. And by the way, if you're a person who is fat and thinking going to the gym makes you lose fat, stay at home, don't go to the gym. The reason why we go to the gym is to build muscle. The order of longevity. We need the muscle. We need that. And there are certain elements behind building the muscle. You don't build the muscle in the gym. You break the muscles and you go and build them while you're sleeping. How the blocks of building the muscle with protein, with fat, and how you sleep is going to build the muscle. So you repair outside the gym. But people come to the gym thinking like, I'm going to be burning thousands of calories and then going and eating the same bad habits, food, to have fat.
That's a really interesting point in terms of going and building muscle. So David Sinclair, who is a neuroscientist at Harvard, an Australian neuroscientist, and his book, Lifespan, he talked about how the star of his book is his father. Now, his father is 84, and he said he is stronger than him, who is 55, and he is, and he wasn't somebody who worked out and was crazy about his diet ever. In his 30s, that really wasn't an issue. It wasn't a focus at all. But slowly he started to understand the importance. And now at 84, he has a new business that he has launched. That sense of purpose, but really going to the gym, has made him understand about building that muscle to also enhance his brain too. So it's so multifactorial, all of these factors that you have.
So you go to the gym, you break the muscle, and then it's what you put in your mouth and how you rest sort of defines your shape essentially later on, right?
Absolutely.
So at what point did you realize sleep had such a big impact? Obviously, you've done a lot of research and things like that. And what type of sleep and durations? Can you give us any advice in terms of building on us?
I have a struggle with times. 24 hours in my day is not enough for me. So I fight with time, but I do prioritize sleep. Like when time for me is to sleep, I have to sleep. I don't care if my wife wants my attention. I'm like, honey, sorry, I have to sleep. And she understands, but I wake up early. So I try my best to get 7 to 6 hours sleep, but sometimes I do fall less than that. But I make sure that the quality of sleep is always precise. So the room temperature is fixed, as cold as it should be for me and my wife sleep in that deep REM sleep. And plus the darkness of the room and how early we start the day, closing slowly the lights as we go into our bed sleep. This is another hack as well on how to go to fall asleep, because you can't be living in a living room with all the lights on and then, yeah, let's go to sleep. You can't go to sleep like that. So you have to gradually switch off the lights and use as low light as possible closer to your bedtime. So this is another hack that I've learned as well. And in order to go into that deep sleep, how many times have you, for example, had less hours of sleep, but you woke up really fresh, and you had, for example, the other way around, and you had all your hours that you're supposed to sleep, 8 hours, beautiful 8 hours, but you woke up tired and exhausted. So that's the difference between quality of sleep and the hours of sleep. You can have both, or you can have the opposite way around. So I do have, yes, when I wake up in the morning, like I'm fresh, despite the number of hours I have sleeping, actually. So I do prioritize sleep. This is a for a fact. But I do struggle with the hours of sleep. But the quality is always there.
I think, throughout our whole conversations around sleep, we had a doctor on who was saying that her professor, yes, it was a number of years ago, but her professor was saying, you can sleep when you're dead, don't worry about it. And we are still really battling with people's perception on the importance of sleep. You know, the chairman of Netflix, when he was given his job for the very first time, he said he was going to wage war on sleep.
Absolutely. So our competitor number one is sleep.
Is sleep. And it is so, we still have so much work to do. But as you say, it's about the whole point of this podcast, and I know you do the work too, is to really help people learn about sleep. And
one thing, sorry.
Yes, no, please do.
There's a saying that I came across with. I don't know if it's an Arabic saying or the saying can't say. I can't tell because my brain is diversified between Arabic and English 50-50. But it says there's no one that you're going to meet after 9 p.m. is going to add value to your life.
I've heard this phrase before as well, and it is so true, isn't it?
It is.
It's
It's absolutely true. Like, look at the people who are going to call you or invite you for anything outside after 9 p.m. They're the worst.
Speaking of time, I actually wanted to ask you, because we've spoken to a few people in terms of when is the best point in time to exercise. Do you say it's the morning or the evening, or do you need to do both? Do you need to mix it up, especially maybe for women as well?
I'm a person who prioritizes daytime, like either early morning when you wake up, which is the ideal time, or going through the afternoon and then probably in the afternoon. So during daytime, because this is the proper way, like get it out of the way of your, continue the rest of your day doing some kind of activities. Your body, when we're going to work out, it's going to be hyped off with this energy that somehow is going to disturb your sleep if we want to prioritize sleep. So the moment I started realizing how important sleep is, I started shifting my sleep, my workout closer during the day. So now it's in the afternoon, early afternoon.
On that note, which is really interesting, is that, or I think it is, there's been a lot of talk around our chronotype, so our chronobiology. And, you know, what they're saying is that, you know, some people whose chronotype is more of an owl, they will do better by having exercise later in the evening. And what's really fascinating now, so it's completely contradictory of all that research they're saying. Like they did this huge experiment where there was a doctor who took a group of people into the mountains and they just had all natural light. And regardless of whether their interpretation was, I'm definitely an owl, which is what I think I am, but listening to these or reading these studies, I'm definitely an owl. By having the exposure to natural light, actually, we have readjusted their melatonin and their biological clock to coming back to a much earlier time. So it's very hard for everyone out there in terms of the study says this and the study says that. But the reality, as you say, is to have the exercise earlier, because the other thing is, if you're doing the exercise in the evening, you're actually physically tired, and so you might not get the best workout.
So right, we sadly ran out of time, so we're going to ask you the final question that we ask all our guests. What in your mind is the perfect scenario in terms of leading up to the perfect night's sleep? What is your routine to get that perfect night's sleep?
First of all, having the idea that I have to sleep and follow the idea of quality and time to sleep is going to put everything into a line. So as I said earlier, the light is a very important factor. We started off with light, which is really, really important. So I would dim the lights 3-4 hours earlier to my bedtime in order to be tired and then get that melatonin out to fall asleep. Avoid caffeine by whatsoever as early as you can. Start off with if we love coffee, who doesn't love coffee or tea? Start off early in the morning and then try to stop having that. And then make sure that your room is cold enough to fall worse. Have probably some magnesium earlier to that.
I take magnesium. I really rate.
Sometimes, don't be addicted to it, but sometimes you might need this.
Yeah. But I take quite a lot of it. Is that bad? I quite like magnesium. So it just relaxes you. It's good for after a workout. It's good to sleep.
I do measure with some gadgets my sleep, and the moment I take magnesium, the next day I notice a big difference in my recovery time. So yeah, it does play a big role, but I don't like to be addicted to any kind of supplement, so I try to stay away from them as much as I can. But if I do I will take from time to time.
That's interesting. Sorry, very quickly about the supplement side of things, because you think, people that work out and, are into fitness and science, that they're always backed with supplements. Is that not always the case then? If you got to try and do it as naturally as possible?
Exactly. They're called supplements, so they complete your diet.
Yes.
They're not there to be priority in your exercise or active life. Your priority should be what you eat, what you consume. So instead of spending money on supplements, go spend money on good quality food, and you will have all what your body needs. You're taking supplements, you don't know what your body really needs, right? You're taking supplements based on what's been marketed out there and how good are they to market what they want to sell. And then you end up having more than what your body requires, while nature gave us food with all these supplements in it, with the precise amount that your body needs. And let your body decide when you're hungry, when to eat, and when you're full to stop eating. That means how much nutrients your body had. And by the way, if you're hungry, that means your body's asking for something, but you're consuming the wrong thing inside your body, and that's what keeps you hungry all the time. So the answer is the quality of nutrients, which will give you the right supplements, the right nutrients, and then when your body tells you to stop, that's it. So having the right food is going to keep you satiated for a very long time. And then when you're hungry, that means really your body's asking for something. So you shouldn't be really hungry. The hunger is just a signal from your body that you need the right nutrients. I emphasize there, the right nutrients. And we're consuming the wrong nutrients, and that's why we keep on being hungry all the time. And the right nutrients here, I have to mention, is it's protein and fat. Most.
Yeah, fat, yes, absolutely. And again, you were talking about the pillars of health. If we're talking about the pillars of health, you can be putting all this good food in your body, but if you're not sleeping, then we're not absorbing the nutrients. If you're doing the exercise, we are much more likely to be having injuries. We are far more likely to have injuries. So again, coming right back to the very beginning, sleep. Sleep is the most important factor, critical factor of all of it. Now, I would like to say a huge thank you, and I really hope you can see how much we enjoyed our conversation, and thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks a lot.
So, honestly, we could have talked for so much longer, but what I would like to say is, and hopefully we've gleaned this from this interview, the importance of sleep. We cannot stress it enough. Sleep is your superpower. And so if there's anything you want to achieve, really work on your sleep. And thank you.